I know you got to look the part, but they all have matching tracksuits and hats and bags and gloves and pants.
Right.
And there's just so much money.
So much.
Like I need
so much
2 side hustles.
Johnny,
like I'm making and delivering the pizzas.
Oh, you are 100%.
Like,
you are.
I got to get more money. Welcome to Bad Parents, a podcast about 3 bad parents who are trying to raise good kids. She's Shauna.
Hello.
He's Ryan.
What's up?
And I'm Johnny. A Tell It Like It Is podcast for parents to laugh, cry, and to make you feel better about your parenting.
In this episode, we talk sports. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good news, whichever category your kid falls under, you can always drink in the parking lot with the other miserable parents. Team Bad Parents is always recruiting.
Let's do a little bit of a roll call, okay, guys? Shauna, your kids' names?
Jack and Eli. Jack is 15 in grade 9. Eli is approximately 9.
Approximately, I like it.
Yeah.
Bad parents.
Ryan Parker.
Let's go. 5'7", 180 pounds. Oh,
likes to do sex more than us because he's got 3 kids.
yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I've had sex 3 times if you're just getting to know
And
me.
it all took.
And I'll tell you right now, I don't know how to make girls. I guess you have to be sober because I got myself 3 boys.
I would concur with that. I have 2 boys.
Right. So Johnny's had sex sober once. Okay, so I have 3 boys. They are Drew, who is 8. They are Rory, who just turned 12, and Travis, who is in grade 9 as a 14.
Congratulations. I have 2 children. I scratched off the winning lottery ticket for the $1 Million family. I have a boy who is 2 and a girl who is 4. And neither one of them were conceived via me and my wife having sex. Both of them IVF.
I have to say, one of the most surprising things that has come from my life as a parent is the sports mom thing. I didn't think I was going to become one. My first kid didn't play a lot of sports, but my second one now is into sports, and I've gone all in to the point where I've never been more obsessed about something that I'm not good at in my life.
Right.
Right. Living vicariously through your children really is a thing. It took me 10 years to experience, but it's a big thing.
And it's come on fast for you because, we've been working together for months now, but the very beginning me get to know you was hockey season was kind of right in the meat of it.
Yeah.
And you weren't really talking too much about it.
Not
and then
really.
something happened. You went to a tournament and all of a sudden you're a hockey mom.
I know. That's what I mean. It came out of nowhere. I got connected to this team. The team did well. So I think you get caught up in it. And now I'm to the point where we just had a loss last night, which put us out of the tournament. We came in 3rd in the tournament, which is great.
Yeah.
But I feel so blue about it. Like I asked you, Ryan, because your son plays very competitive hockey. And I was like, is this normal to get so wrapped up in children's sports? He's only 9, 10 years old.
I think it's normal if you're wired a certain way. Like if you just, and I know the way you are wired, like when you work out hard. Like if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right.
Right.
And I don't do that for myself.
Yeah.
But for my child, I do. I take it very serious. Like I have fun with it.
Yeah.
I have a blast, but I get very nervous. I get very anxious.
Yeah.
I get very upset if they lose. I get very excited if they win.
Yeah.
Like, talk about with my middle son, who's just turned 12. His team and how they do really affect my life.
It's crazy. That's what I'm trying to say, which sounds bad, but actually it's given a part of my life that is just so full of joy when we win.
When you win. But it's also like other kids on the team.
Yeah.
And their parents. It factors so much into your life. Like these kids, like my son's been on essentially the same team. There's always a few tweaks and changes and stuff like that. But the core of the team has been together for like 5 years now. And you love these kids.
It's crazy.
And then the parents. And then you travel a lot together and you're in it a lot together and you're going through the same ups and downs and emotions with each other.
So we had a game the other night and one of our pitchers was up there and he was pitching so well. And he was starting to struggle a little bit. It was like the 3rd inning, 4th inning. And his dad is in the bleachers and he yells at him. He says, Max, he says, just breathe. And the kid, I get emotional. Kid looks across. He's in the middle of a game at his dad and takes this big breath and breathes out and has this moment with his dad. I start almost crying. My husband looks at me and says, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying? And it's that age because they still look to their parents, right? They still have that that love that their parents, I don't know what it was, parent kid, but I am so in it to win it now as a sports parent.
And you'll see it soon, Johnny, if your kids get into sports. And what amazes me sometimes is, like you said, they're kids, but because, especially if they're playing kind of higher level stuff, they're so good. And like, I'll use hockey as an example for me, because that's what my one son plays. And he plays, AAA hockey. So it's good hockey.
Yeah.
And you see what they're doing and the passes and the plays and the speed and the agility and the shots and the power. And you're like, these kids are 11 years old.
Exactly.
It's like they take their helmets off and you're like, okay, now it hit me. The rosy cheeks. You know what I mean?
Totally, their little faces.
Their little faces. And you're like, you're just a kid. And then you know what is crazy about how invested you are?
Yeah.
Do you ever find sometimes it's like, I'm upset, maybe you're upset, and the kid who's participating in the sport has got over it in like 5 minutes?
Absolutely. Totally. Yes.
I'll give you a quick example of that. My son was playing, he's like 6 years old. And I guess he didn't have a good game. And I'm not one of those hockey parents that just like ride him the whole drive home, because I never played.
Yeah.
So I let the coaches do it. But we just had a chit chat, whatever. I'm like, hey, buddy, you know what? Because he was a year younger than everyone else. And in his head, I knew he was better than that. But in his head, he admitted to me, he goes, I'm only 6, they're 7, Daddy. I go, but you're on the team. You're playing a year up because you're good enough. He just thought there should be better. So we were chatting back and forth. I'm driving. He's in the back seat. So I can't really see him other than in the rearview mirror. And we're chatting. And he goes, I don't want this anymore. And I'm like, it's okay, buddy. Listen, we're not going to give up. You know, you had a rough game, but we'll get back at it. He's like, I don't want this anymore. Back and forth for like maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I turned and I looked and he was talking about his apple.
And you're having this philosophical, deep conversation about, oh my
And he
God.
just like, oh, Dad, I'm over the hockey part. I just don't want the rest of this apple. What do I do with it?
That's such a great analogy. That's a really good story, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in it and our kids really have moved on.
Oh my God.
Like, can we go to McDonald's?
I know.
Fine, we'll get them next time.
We lose a tournament. My son takes his water ball and is drawing giant penises in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right. And because he's just over it. But it is so, I'm so happy for you. And I know we're going to talk, Johnny, about you and your kids because they're younger in a bit. I'm so happy for you, Shauna, that you're getting to enjoy this, because aside from being proud of your child for doing something very well, something that they've worked hard at, you also meet unbelievably great people.
Yeah. And very few things about parenting surprise you in a good way. I'm not going to be, dark about it, but there's a lot of stuff about parenting you're not prepared for.
Yep.
And it's hard. But this has been a nice surprise.
Okay, so let's get through the good stuff, right? So like, let's take away that they're good at the sport.
Right.
Tell me some of the good things that you've seen in your kids since they've started.
Teamwork.
Oh, number one.
I don't even know how else I could teach them, because my older kid, and I'm going to be honest, he doesn't really have a great sense of team or sharing or all those things that I think Eli is gaining from sports, because my older one didn't do it. So teamwork for sure.
Not teamwork for sure. Discipline. Having to go to bed at a certain time, especially in these tournaments. You're eating healthier.
That's a big one. They understand the fuel your body thing. You could tell another kid till you're blue in the face that body, food fuels you. But when they're actually doing a sport, they get it.
Totally.
Can I ask you about accountability? Does accountability come into it? Because I'm trying to teach Olivia, who's 4, accountability and how to you're accountable. If you make a promise to a friend to go over their house today,
right.
and then somebody else comes calling on you, you've made that commitment to that other friend that you need to follow through on it.
Here's one. To your point, Johnny, one of the kids had booked a vacation because sometimes parents book way ahead of time. And this district's tournament came out of nowhere. They thought it was a weekend tournament. It was week long. The kid said, I'm coming back from a cottage vacation because he was accountable to his team. So that's huge at 9 years old.
I think that's a big one.
Huge.
For me, that's in my top 2 of things that I would like to see my kids learn when they get into organized whatever.
And I find too, Johnny, they almost listen to, I shouldn't compare it, but they almost listen and respect the coach more than, say, a teacher.
Oh, for
because they get many more opportunities in school, right? The teacher like, okay, I'll give you one more day or whatever. But if you play especially high-level sports, the coaches only give you, even when they're 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, they're not like cracking the whip on them like they're adults, but they have to understand the responsibilities, and that if you don't show up, that means your line mates. That means now instead of 3 forwards, there's only 2 and someone's got a double shift, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And to be an hour before practice.
Yeah.
And it teaches you camaraderie and the locker room stuff that you just can't, they need to be around kids like themselves.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
when they're little, Johnny, if you get into it, like you eventually have to leave the locker room. And that day was actually quite sad for me. because I love hanging in, just listening to them talk about video games and whatever.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And then eventually you're not allowed in anymore. I'll be honest. Sometimes I'll hang on to something like a mouth guard, and I'll be like an excuse to run in. Just to get a feel of it.
I know. It's such a cool vibe.
Yeah. There's so many great things that come from sports that really almost have nothing to do with the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think is, again, those are all positive things that are going to last them a lifetime.
So we just talked about all the benefits and all the good that comes from your kids playing sports. Let's talk about the negatives. Let's talk about how you can no longer afford to eat food.
The cost
Holy
is amazing.
cow.
And now you're at a whole other level, AAA, hockey, unbelievable cost. I mean, we're just started to get into this whole world, and it's manageable right now. But even then, you have to sacrifice other things.
Sorry to cut you off. You were talking about just like not being able to eat. And because your son plays such high level hockey, it's not just the hockey that's costing you money. It's all these trips that I see you go on, these tournaments. And like, I know you got to look the part, but they all have matching tracksuits and hats and bags and gloves and pants.
Right.
And there's just so much money.
So much.
Like I need
so much
two
money.
side hustles.
Johnny,
Like I'm making and delivering the pizzas.
Oh, you are 100%.
Like,
you are.
I got to get more money.
And so you're talking about the gear, right? Which is, every team is a little bit different. Again, because it's a little higher level, it's really hardcore. You could play house league and stuff like that. Not everyone has to have matching stuff, but I get your point. The other part of it is the cost of the hotel, the cost of you bringing your other children, the cost of the gas, the cost of the food, the cost of when you get to the rink. Then they have, Johnny, here's a scam for you. They have all these booths set up, right? Of like, the balls that come back to you and these like kind of mini sticks and whatever, socks and t-shirts and stuff like that. And then not only does your kid who's playing wants one, but his brothers want one as well. And so it's just the money is just coming out. And because you're half in the bag the whole tournament, you're just like, whatever, here's the Visa kid, here's the Visa kid. The amount of money, I'm going to say off the top of my head, because I have two sons that don't play sports anymore. So just the one middle guy. You mentioned played hockey. He also plays like rep soccer. So it's more money. I'm going to say a year in just tournaments alone, I spend $8,000.
My gosh.
If you factor in the gas and the hotels.
Course.
Easy. John, it doesn't stop, man.
I know.
That's such a large number.
And really
I'm sure
is.
for people, as their not professional, but their amateur sports career grows, so does that number.
Yeah.
You go to Montreal. We went to a Montreal Meltdown tournament, which is a pretty big tournament. And so there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of hotels that just jack up the prices because they know all these hockey parents are coming.
You're stuck.
You go for with a family. I have a family of 5. That's $1,500 to $2,000. Wow. Actually, it's not even. It's easily $2,000. The hotel rooms are 3 nights. They're talking $500, $600, $700. And then another $500, $600, $700 in food at the very least.
And like, does it cost more? And I only ask Rye this. I'm not sure if Eli or Jack, Shauna, your two boys, Jack who plays football, Eli who plays baseball and hockey. What about like all the extra training, like the power skating or the quarterback camps?
We haven't even. Jack just got into football, but he's starting to talk about these camps and these training programs.
Are sports now 365?
Yes.
Like there are no more winter or summer sports. It's just if you're into hockey, because like you said, you're playing tournaments in the summer.
Yeah,
and there's soccer tournaments in the winter. Like. Is it too much?
Yeah, you could argue that. Here's the problem. It's a very interesting topic, to be honest with you, because you feel the pressure of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember being a kid, and I played, rep soccer, and then some kids on the team played like high level hockey, and they never crossed. They were like, come whatever the month was, August, September, soccer was over, and they get right into hockey, and I wouldn't see them, because they play hockey. Now, like I have a son that plays rep soccer and rep hockey. And he's probably going to have to decide next year because we just can't do it. We've missed too much soccer. Yeah, we missed too much soccer. And the kid wants to play academy soccer, which is the highest level. Man. I'm like, we can't do it. I don't know if you'd even make it, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's too much. And it is kind of sad that at 12 you have to decide what sport it's going to
It's
be.
very sad. Like, how are you supposed to know even from ability? Like, maybe you haven't peaked yet in soccer, but you're
Right.
picking hockey because you're peaking there. Like,
Right.
that's tough.
That's a great point. I think you can still do it. Like House League is a fantastic leagues, right?
Yeah.
I think you can do 2 or 3 sports, to be honest with you. But I think if you're playing rep and if your kid has a certain amount of talent, the problem is, and you talk about the money is the cost and all that kind of stuff, then there's these camps, right? And it's like, well, Jimmy's going.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so then should my kid go? And like half the team's going and you're like, okay, then I guess we got to go, right?
Exactly.
And then your kid's like, oh, I'm not going to be as good if they have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. And, we haven't even really tackled these. Also seem to be very traditional sports. And in Canada, there are a lot of untraditional sports that we do. Like, we're not even talking about Olympic sports that, kids may gravitate to and
Absolutely.
go into that may cost even more.
I interviewed an Olympic skier.
Oh, I
a
imagine
girl,
that cost.
Like, and she was talking about her life. And
Sure.
like, you want to talk expense. Now you've got to move maybe your whole family to live somewhere near a ski hill.
Which is crazy because you think of skiing. I got boots and skis and poles and maybe some goggles to keep the snow out of my face. And that's it.
Yeah.
But it's way more than that.
Yeah.
It's this crazy coaching and all these kind of things. I just want to know, a kid who gets into ski jumping, like, that sport seems nuts to me.
Yeah.
How do you even say to yourself, you know what, this is something I kind of want to do?
Yeah.
Because it's something I so don't want to do.
Yeah, those kind of spin-off shows of sports. I mean, maybe you're a skier in the beginning, and then maybe you launch off a mogul, and you're like, that's kind of fun.
My
And then-
brother-in-law tried luge. He went to
Really?
Lake Placid to train as a luger.
Really?
Yeah. And it was because he was just someone at the gym saw him working out and said, have you thought about luge?
I've heard your side, Ryan. I've heard your side, Shauna.
Yeah.
I will now make my decision
I love it.
whether or not I put any of my kids into sports. You've both made your arguments, the pros and cons of kids in sports. And if I were to ask you the top 10 sports and activities in Canada among youth 3 to 17, what would you say number 1 is?
Soccer.
Hockey.
You're both wrong. Soccer number 2, hockey number 4. Now I said sports and activities.
Bike riding? Does that count?
It might, but
Is baseball
it
in the top
doesn't-
5?
Can I just answer him first? Can I just answer him
I
first?
just wanna win.
And then I'll move over.
Okay.
What did you say about bike riding?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not in here. It's not in the top 10.
Again, you're going to say sport like baseball, but he's hinting that's an activity.
know.
Okay,
Oh.
baseball is also not in the top 10. Number 1 among the top 10 sports and activities in Canada among youth 3 to 17 is what Ryan and I want to do at the 2024 Paris Olympics.
Yes.
It is swimming.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does, right?
Huh.
Number two, neither one of you said it.
What about martial arts?
As Ryan likes to call it, karate comes in at number 10. Number 2 is soccer.
I said soccer.
That's okay. Right, relax.
It's easy. It's cheap,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3 is dance.
Oh, yes. Be a dance dad, Johnny.
I'd like to be a dance dad. I went to Chatham. Go see my dad. Chatham's about 4 hours
Your
away
dad
from
danced in
Toronto.
Chatham.
And so, I just went to a bar. My dad just danced the night away. Just sat there, watched him. Just like, oh, my dad, you're just like an angel on with wings. I was dancing on a cloud. And I saw a whole bunch of dance dads in the hotel. And some of them were really into it, and some were so out. So I'm just the driver.
You can't be middle of the road, I think, in something like that.
Number 5 is skating. Number 4 is hockey. Number 5 is just skating. Then basketball, gymnastics, track and field running. Is there field running?
Cross
Seems like
country
track
running, maybe.
Okay, maybe. Ballet,
Yeah.
and then karate
Okay.
are the top ones there. I really, really want my kids to do something. I want them to find something that they enjoy, whether or not they're super good at it, but something that they can just enjoy and develop the skills that we talked about. Your story, Shauna, about the moment between the son and the father in the stands, I'm very emotional. I cried when Olivia got a haircut. So I can only imagine.
Imagine her scoring a game-winning goal.
Exactly.
It's something.
I have cried at like real base level dance recitals for a niece who was 3.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Johnny.
Like they were just twirling.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, she's doing it on her own.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to those sort of things. I don't necessarily think I need any more friends. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm not looking for my kids to get into sports because I am a bit older. Like, Ryan, I know you fostered these relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, I know you're just getting into them. Ryan, you fostered these relationships for years. Your son's played hockey for years.
Some of the best guys I know.
Some of the best guys you know.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And so I'm not looking for that. If that happens, then that's great.
Okay.
But I just want them to do something they enjoy, whether or not they're super good at it or not. I don't want to incur the cost.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to get into it. Now, my wife is very kind of like dead set on not enrolling either of them in hockey. She does not want them to play hockey for the reason of everything Ryan said. The travel, the cost, and the time commitment.
It is huge. The time commitment, we didn't even really get fully into that, but you may as well say goodbye to free time.
Sure. And it's not so much that like she doesn't like hockey, and hockey obviously has tons of great benefits, and many a boy and girl in this country have developed who they are through hockey. I don't want to throw my wife in the bus. She's lazy. I think it's a bit of a lazy. She's got a bit of a lazy bone and doesn't want to fully commit.
Yeah.
I do feel that when this does come around, I feel like a lot of it's going to be on dad. Oh, I just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at least in my family, I think a lot of it's going to be on that, which is fine. I have no problem doing those sort of things, but I am looking forward to it. I did play some sports in school. I know Ryu played some sports. You were great. Ryan was a great soccer player.
Thank you.
And a very good setter in volleyball.
Thank you very much. Believe it or not, how short I am.
Yeah. Sean, I don't know what your sort of athletic career was.
You golf though. You're a good golfer.
Yeah, it's not a sport.
I did play a lot of basketball. I enjoyed basketball. And then, if you can believe it, I did some track and field running. So I loved it. I loved hanging out with my teammates and those sort of like things that you just don't get maybe from your regular friends. It's a little bit different. So yeah, I want them to play sports. And if you're on the fence of whether or not you want your child to get into organized sports and maybe or activities, and you're kind of like, I don't want them to play football because I'm scared of all the concussions and all the injuries and I don't want to see them get hurt. Totally get it.
Yeah.
But please try to find something, whether it's art or acting or synchronized men's swimming,
right?
Yeah.
That Ryan and I want to take part in. At least find them something, because that sort of like idle hands are the devil's playthings or whatever they say.
Yeah.
It's something.
I think Poison said that, didn't it?
Did it? I think so. Yeah.
Can I just jump in?
It was on the slippery when it went out.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Hey.
There's if I could say two things of having a more experience in this particular subject.
Sure.
One, I'll say this.
Yes.
I never played hockey. You never skated and played hockey. I said to myself, to my wife, I'm not a hockey guy. I never played hockey, but we're in Canada and I want them to at least learn how to skate.
Right.
And so my older boy played decent hockey and he quit around COVID. My middle guy, we talked about. My little guy, even he, although he hates sports, he hates it. Even he likes to go skating. And I want him to be able to skate good enough for when he goes out and he's a teenager, because that's such a great place to hang out the rink when you're doing public skating, your first dates, that kind of stuff. And I don't want him to look at me and say, Dad, my brothers can skate and I can't.
I know.
Because you're in Canada. I don't care what you are. Canada, hockey, it will always be number one.
At least, I don't know about you, but sometimes in high school, like when you took gym, you could pick what you wanted to do. And all like the cool guys and girls took skating.
Yeah.
So I took it, but I've never been on skates. I just sat there eating popcorn. Right. It was like the hold hand dance or whatever. And they were like
skating around, first dance.
Yeah, that's
and
it,
then
man.
like Johnny and I are sitting eating French fries, listening to the Guns N' Roses in the background. And we're like, hey, what did her hair smell like, man? You held her hand through the entire song around the rink.
Wow.
So that's why I would suggest, if not hockey, just go public skating with them. It's also just a fun activity. The other thing I just wanted to say quickly, Johnny, is I know Sean and I talked about the downsides and the upsides and all that kind of stuff. At the very least, no matter what, let's say, sport you pick, there's several. Just you all start in house league. And house league isn't overwhelming. It isn't overly expensive. It isn't such a great commitment. Like in house league hockey, at least in my experience, they practice like Friday night and get a game Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. That was it.
And I truly believe that all of the positives that you said about teamwork and accountability and all these other things are taught no matter what level in which you play.
That's the last thing I was going to say.
I apologize.
No, but you're right. You played. My son played select hockey, which is one above house league. Loved every second of it. And I got just as much joy watching him as I do my other son, who plays at a much higher level. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the two teams playing each other are the same caliber. The only time it sucks watching kids sports is if you have a bunch of ringers playing a bunch of house leaguers.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not fair for anyone. If you're playing house league hockey, soccer, baseball, whatever, you're going to have a blast because those are your pals. And in fact, you see a lot of kids who get better who's like, I don't want to move to AA. I like my friends on A and I just want to play there.
Absolutely.
Because it's more about fun than it is about, they know they're not going to go anywhere with it. It's just fun. So I would at least suggest, do you agree, Shauna? If your kids are interested in sports, get them into house league. And listen, if they excel, then you make the decision.
And see where it goes.
Yep.
Exactly. And follow their lead and their interests too. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
And I also, one of the things that Ryan said that like, you kind of forget about, but it kind of brings back when we talk about things like this, is during the pandemic when everything was shut down, like all of the sports, right? There was no hockey, there was no whatever, and basketball in the bubble and all those sort of things. Is, people would say like, hey, do you miss watching, the NHL on Saturday night? And Ryan's like, no, I don't. I miss seeing my kid play at the local arena more than I do seeing these professional athletes. And for somebody who doesn't have any kids in there, it's like before you have kids, you never know how you can love something so much, right? Until you do, and then you totally get, now I'm in the club. My kids don't play sports yet, so I don't know what that sort of point. That like, I would rather go see my kid play a house league hockey game at 9:30 on a Wednesday night than watch the Leafs or whatever your team is. And then like that resonated with me. So now I want to do that. Yeah. And I want to be part of it.
And you'd be so good at it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm awesome at that. I'm a really good dad.
But then here's the best part. You can join Shauna and I complaining the next morning. You're like, I can't believe I was in Hamilton last night.
That's fun friendship too, when you can sit around and bitch around together about how bad it is.
Now, we also want to hear your bad parent stories. So send them to us at badparents@curiouscast.ca. That's curiouscast.ca. And if you have an idea for a future episode, we want to hear that too. We are on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can listen to our radio show every day, every morning at 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Q107 Toronto. Until next time, I'm Johnny.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Shauna.
And this is Bad Parents.